So it's almost like your life is like you've gotten to the age of 30 and you're in Reckful's life, but you're at the airport of your life, but you left your bag at home. How are you?
So the day after we talked last time,
Yeah.
I felt a lot better. I think I might have
Great.
messaged you about it.
Yeah.
I woke up, I felt more whole. It was good.
Yeah. Great.
Then I remember having a moment though. Okay, this is gonna sound really dumb, but I was sad the day after that. And I remember being like, oh, I'm not fixed. And I was like, obviously I'm not. It's not a permanent, there's no permanent fix to sadness for my whole life. It's gonna be up and down, right? But it's such a dumb thought. But I remember having that thought and being like, even though it's just an automatic thing to think.
Yeah, but why do you think that that's a dumb thought?
It's a dumb thought because human emotion is always gonna be up and down, right? I'm not gonna be happy forever.
Yeah, but I mean, as crazy as this sounds, I don't think that's a dumb thought. I think it's actually the opposite. I think it's an important realization. Right?
Okay.
So sometimes when you have a powerful moment in life, you feel transformed. And then the next day rolls around and you're like, "Oh shit, we're back to square one." And that's actually like I'm glad you feel that way, because I think part of this is not about curing people. This is about teaching you how to go in and out of the water. So like you felt really good for a day, and then you noticed that like there were things about you that are still the same. And so like the whole process of, I think, growth and healing is actually like having good days and then bad days and good days and then bad days. And each time you learn how to move from one to the other. And then over time you get better at like moving back and forth, and then you get to control whether your days are good or your days are bad.
This makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been waking up every day for the last week. I've been waking up and I start out in I'd call it a sad state. I start out in a sad state, and I always have like this faint memory of some dream that was really annoying. Like I was in an airport and lost my luggage. Like these kind of so I think that kind of affects the feeling when you're waking up maybe a little bit. Then I'm waking up and I'm like, I mean, it's probably most people probably wake up a little sad because you have low energy a little, maybe. I don't know.
Sure.
Then as I'm getting through my day and starting to do some things I find fulfilling, like talk to Talbadar, who's my friend who works on Everland, then I'm feeling better. And then after we stop working for the day, then I go in a slump for a bit. And then I try to reach out to friends to hang out. And if they hang out with me, then I go back in a happy time. And then I get a little lonely, and then I go to bed. And that's my day. So it's like,
yeah. So
yeah.
I'm gonna have to apologize because some of the interviews are starting to blur together. But didn't we talk a little bit about how you had periods of time where you distract yourself from your base state, and then you kind of get tired of that?
We did talk about that.
So I mean, I think this is so Reckful. This is all fantastic, actually. I mean, I realize I say this way too much on stream, but people will tell me something really fucking depressing about their life, and I'll be like, that is fantastic. What I think is fantastic is that you're noticing the patterns of your life.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
you're noticing what's going on. And the theories that we developed last time, which is that you have this basic state of like unhappiness where you do like fulfilling stuff or distracting stuff, and that kind of distracts you from that. But then you kind of like come back to like your like neutral, which is sad, which we're going to get into. But I think it's really important to recognize that like you're going to have, just to understand what's going on in you, that you can do like dharmic work, you can do work that you find fulfilling, and that makes you feel good. And you can also hang out with friends, and that makes you feel good. But when you're alone and by yourself, it sounds like you feel sad.
Yes, and I actually view that as okay. I think about it like from, I guess, an evolutionary standpoint, that humans needed other humans around them to survive and pass on their genes. So if you didn't have other humans around you, you'd be unhappy maybe. If like why do you do that with your eyebrows? I was like,
Yeah,
I'm
because I mean,
distracted.
so like, yeah, sure. So I'm a scientist, but I mean, I say sort of fuck that, because the whole goal here is for you to be peaceful and happy when you were alone, right? Is your basic state to be peaceful and happy? Like that's the
That
goal.
would be awesome. But
It,
yeah, that would be awesome. But then I do like this feeling that I can, if I feel terrible, I'm like, oh, it makes sense. I can step back and be like, oh, it makes sense. I'm alone. Human beings were meant to be in tribes, not alone.
so
I
that's huge. But I think the key thing there is not the rationale, but your capacity to step back and accept the way that you feel, to not
Yeah.
judge yourself for the way that you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason you do it is fine. I mean, whether it's evolutionary or whatever, like that's great. But I think the important thing is that when you're feeling sad, this I think is a little bit different. Is that I think you accept that you feel sad and you kind of are okay with that in a sense.
Yeah, I'm somewhat okay with it.
So
Yeah.
tell me about that. Tell me what you mean by somewhat okay with it.
I can imagine. Okay. Well, I definitely didn't. Oh man, when I was in high school or 20 or something, I didn't imagine that when I'm 30, I'll be a person who's alone this often. I didn't think that would happen. Um, and I think that kind of thought in itself makes me a little more sad,
Mm-hmm.
and I should just take things day by day more. Um, I think streaming. I have a lot of justifications for it. I mean, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, streaming as a job it's very isolating. You do talk to people on the internet, but you end up sitting in your room 10 hours a day, many years in a row, sometimes 7 days a week. I did before. And there's not gonna make you're not gonna make a lot of friends like that, you know. And then if you want to talk to other people who are streamers who are in the same field, usually people meet people at their career, but the other streamers are just as busy streaming all the time, also. So then I can't really expect them to give me their time. You were gonna say something?
Yeah, Reckful, I have a couple of just simple questions for you. What part of the world do you live in?
In the U.S., I'm in Texas right now. I used to be in California.
How much exposure to sunlight do you get?
I get a lot. So I walk every day. I just actually took
Okay.
my stream for a walk like a week ago. But I walk outside for like 5 miles actually a day. So I'm
Okay,
walking
okay,
around.
so you get plenty. Because I mean, you could just be like vitamin D deficient. Like
My dad
that's.
always thought that too. Yeah.
But I mean, if
My
you're
yeah
getting,
my dad, every time he visits me or I visit him, he just hands me this vitamin D pills from Costco.
no,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're walking 5 miles a day, that's what, like an hour and a half of walking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
just
you
think I
should.
just brainstorm while doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's your ethnicity?
I'm Israeli.
Okay, so people who have darker skin, so people who are Israeli or Middle Eastern or Indian or African American, we have lower. Our vitamin D apparatuses are not as efficient as people who are Caucasian, and that's just because we were bombarded by sunlight like all the time, which is why we
Takes
have
me
darker
longer to
skin.
get vitamin D.
Yes.
Okay.
So like, but it still shouldn't be a problem in Texas. But in the Northeast, for example, like I'm Indian, so I'm almost certainly vitamin D deficient because my vitamin
Okay.
D like apparatus is not as efficient as someone who's Scandinavian by origin.
Yeah.
But okay. Um, so let me just kind of recap a little bit about what I heard. So it sounds like things are moving in a positive direction, that you're
Yeah.
able
Big time.
to accept and understand that sometimes you still feel sad. You're also able to, this is really important, sort of see how your life has influenced and the choices you make, the career that you've committed to has created the situation that your life is in now, which is like somewhat lonely.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, so what I'm hearing from you is that you say sad, but what I'm hearing is lonely.
I equate I relate. Those two are very related to me.
Okay.
The feeling of loneliness it makes me sad. Right?
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of things make someone sad. But what I'm hearing from you is like the meaning of sad or the origin of sad is really loneliness. Like when you wake up in the morning and you feel
No,
sad. Okay.
no and yes. Because I just remembered when you said that. I remembered I was at TwitchCon at a party and I tweeted, I'm in a room full of people, but I've never felt so alone. Something like that. And I guess I equate it to not relating to people near me, maybe?
Yeah. So I think let's remember that being alone and being lonely are like two different things.
Okay, yeah.
So what's
I
the
know what you mean.
difference?
Well, you can feel lonely. You can feel lonely if, what I just said though, if you can feel lonely for not relating to people around you, right? Or
Yeah.
you don't feel a close connection with them.
Yeah. So
Even if you're around people.
and when you wake up in the morning, like what do you mean by feeling sad? Can you help me or us understand that?
Yeah, I want to try to. Okay, I want to try to word it better. So let's say I'm trying to really put myself in the situation. Just woke up. I wake up and I'm like already nervous about something, or anxious is the word maybe.
Sure.
And I don't know what it is. And then I think that maybe it's the dreams, but I don't remember. Then I like to not look at my phone too quickly when I wake up because I realize that already kind of puts me in a bad state of mind. So I just sit there and like breathe and think for a little bit. And then when I finally do look at my phone, I like go through some messages I might have gotten. I don't really get that many, but you know, and then I respond to some people. And then sometimes I'm walking myself through it, but I'm not really getting anything from it.
Okay.
Why I feel sad? Yeah.
I'm just curious about dreams. Do you have dreams that are kind of like negative? You sort
They're
of
always negative.
like
when I
bad
remember
things.
them.
Bad things happen to you in your dreams.
Yeah.
Dreams of flying or falling.
Falling. Yeah, falling.
Okay.
Not flying.
And like,
If I remember them, it's some weird things like I was falling and I woke up. Yeah.
what about dreams of? I don't know how to say this, but not so, like persecution isn't the right word, but like dreams of like disappointing people or like being like I don't know how to describe this, but like dreams of like showing up to class and forgetting that like forgetting your homework at home.
Those are my most common type.
Okay.
The showing up. There's always something I forgot. Somewhere I am.
Yeah.
I don't have something. I'm not. Yeah. The exact. Yeah. A lot of people have that one, huh?
That's the feeling. Well, I mean, maybe a lot of people do. I
The
think
most
you
recent
do.
one I just said I was at the airport and I like lost my bag or something. It's hard to remember exactly what it was. There's just something was lost while I was there, and I just kept. It was it was so long. I just kept looking for it forever, and I just could never find it. And it was I was just stuck in this loop for so long.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just put a pin on that for a second. So, and when you feel sad, like let's talk about going to bed then. When you go to bed, how do you feel?
Depends on the day. I guess if I feel if the specific day I felt like I made some progress toward my game finishing, or back before when I used to stream a lot, if I streamed that day and I liked the stream, I'm going to, or if I hung out with some people who were I felt a connection with, like friends or whatever, then I'll go to bed like more fulfilled and calm. And a lot of times I'll just go to bed though. I'll go to bed. I'll go to bed lonely. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know how else to describe it.
I think that's a good word. So
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try to offer something else. I think there's loneliness there, and I think there's also life not turning out the way you thought it would. Like, this is not the life that you expected to be living.
Yeah, I feel like it could be a lot better, and it doesn't seem like it would be that difficult to get there. I could have more friends around somehow. I've tried to force it to happen sometimes, like really try to get people to move to be near me and things like that, like friends to do that.
Yeah.
But it's led to bad situations when I did it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Give me just a second, okay?
Yeah.
So it's almost like your life is like you've gotten to the age of 30 and you're in Reckful's life, but you're at the airport of your life, but you left your bag at home. Like, this is not how things were supposed to wind up. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like this is not, it's not that anything is like wrong per se. Like, everything else is right, but there's just like one thing that's just missing. Like, this is just not how things were supposed to be.
Just not enough friends around.
And I think the challenge here, Reckful, is that, we can, in a bizarre way, I'm going to actually ask you to kind of move past a lot of what we talked about last time. So I think living a life of dharma and like building Everland and stuff like that is actually really important. I think it's good that you're doing it. And I want you to just notice that I think to a certain degree, like that's your medicine. And the problem here is that, like, as long as your life is the way it is, you're always going to need medicine to make it feel better. The goal is...
Yeah, okay, but the goal is I feel good without medicine.
Exactly. Right? So, like,
I really don't see that ever happening. And I know that's part of the problem.
No, it's not. It's not part of the problem. No. So don't do that to yourself. Don't judge yourself. No, I think it's a completely reasonable, logical, and intelligent conclusion. Because you have 30 years that have told you it's not going to happen, so why the fuck would you believe that it's going to happen? It's like, what the fuck? Like, so this is where, like, I don't like this power of positive thinking and, like, hope. And I mean, like, hope is good, but like, let's understand where hope comes from. So I think this is, I don't think that's part of the problem. That's fantastic. That's where we start. Okay. So what I'm getting from you, Reckful, is that there is just a seed of like discontent that is actually like pretty deep.
Yeah.
That no matter like what you do, you can start to feel better, but there's just this one thing that you can't shake.
Yes.
So
that's accurate, yeah.
And there's someone else who kind of, and you're pretty successful. Like, would you describe yourself that way?
I go in and out of thinking I'm successful in that.
Let me put it this way. Do you think that other people would be happy to be in your shoes?
Without my mental state, yes.
Okay, the circumstances.
If they had their mental state, yeah.
And I do have some questions for you about like your relationships and things like that, but I'm just going to save those for a little bit later. So, like, who else kind of felt like you did? Really famous person. There's a religion that's sort of based off of his teachings.
There's a religion based on someone's teachings? Confucius?
Yeah. No, Buddha.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Buddha for a second. So what do you know about Buddha?
Okay. Very little. Although, wait. Okay, wait. I read the book Siddhartha or something.
Okay.
When I was.
Do you know what was Buddha's job? Do you remember?
I feel like he was like a prince or something, and then he left
Absolutely.
for that nobility. Yeah, he was a nobility, and then he left and because he wasn't happy there, and then he just wandered around.
So let's stop right there. That's fantastic, Reckful. So why was he unhappy? Do you remember? What do you think?
Felt unfulfilled, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
He was just sitting there. He was born into wealth. He didn't have to do anything. He wants to somehow feel like he's helping the world in some way, maybe.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. Something
like that. Yeah. So I think you're in a very, I think, you kind of say you're in a hopeless position, but I think that you're in a difficult but wonderful position, which is that you're in the position that Gautam Buddha started off with. which is he woke up one day, and we all have this idea that a certain thing is going to give us happiness. Like, and this is easy if you're one of the have-nots, right? Like, if I wake up and I'm poor and I'm broke and I have like credit card debt and I'm going to get evicted at the end of the month and no one loves me, then like it's easy to think if someone loves me, or like if the credit card debt goes away, or if I have stable housing or things like that, then I'll be happy. You with me?
So then you always have a progression path when you wake up.
You have a
know
progression
what you
path.
want. Yeah.
What was Buddha's progression path?
When he was a nobility, he doesn't know what it is.
So like Buddha's like he's nobility, he's a prince. He's respected, he's loved, he has power, he has wealth. He's married to a beautiful woman with others down the line should he want them.
Yeah.
And so one day he wakes up and he's unhappy. And he is way more fucked than the broke person. Why?
Well, this is really funny you ask me, because I had one time I got clipped saying being poor seems fun. And it was really bad. People like it that were really mad at me.
Yep.
But there just wasn't context there.
Sure.
Because I was saying there's a progression path for you.
Yep.
You have something to do.
Which is exactly what we're talking about. So
yeah. So wait.
Why is Buddha more screwed than the person who's broke?
Because he doesn't know what to do to seek fulfillment.
Exactly. In fact, he has done everything to seek, like, all of the goals that people strive for that give them meaning and progression in life, Buddha is just fucked. Because he's gotten all of those things, and it's like, well, now what? It's like, imagine playing a game that you beat and the game doesn't end. Yeah. Like, that is the most fucking boring game in the world.
Depends on the game, but yeah, sometimes.
Right? Well, no, I mean, like, imagine there's, like, nothing, like, you're post the last boss, and you're, like, in the chamber where you've, like, slain the last boss, and you're just hanging out in that chamber.
Yeah, okay.
There's nothing to do in the game.
Yeah, you'd have to be able to go back to previous levels.
Yeah, but, like, that's not, that's not, like, okay. I mean, so Buddha could, in theory, I guess he could go and well, that's what he did, right? Is he gave up his wealth and he gave up everything.
He went back to previous levels.
Yeah. He did New Game Plus, right?
Yeah.
And so I think this is a subtle but important point, because I think that, and so there's a great text called Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And so sutras are translated as like threads or lines. So like the old like Hindu and Buddhist texts are sutras. So they're not like texts, they're like poems, or they're like hundreds of lines long. So they're each like kind of like an equation. So there's not like any filler, there's no explanation. It's like all like E equals mc squared, y equals mx plus b. Like it's just a bunch of equations. And the idea, and the reason is because they were passed down through oral tradition, they had to be memorized. So like if you can memorize 50 equations, like you can understand algebra and you can teach algebra and things like that. Does that make sense?
I was trying to follow. While I was trying to follow, I realized I had to pee, and then I was like, "Why am I getting distracted by this?" And then also your mic cut out one time, and then I get distracted by that.
So go pee.
Okay, all right,
go pee. But just kind of going back to sutras. So like sutras they're like lines, so they're very short. And there's a weird thing in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which is that the first word of his sutras is now. And it's kind of a weird thing. Like if you have just like a list of like math equations, like the word now doesn't belong there. Does that make sense? Like have you ever read a book that starts with the word now?
I don't remember what word most books start with, but I guess it's not now that often. But
like there's no textbook that's like now we're going to talk about algebra. Like that's something that you say if you're making a transition, but like no written thing starts with the word now.
Okay. This reminds me of The Power of Now.
Yeah, well, that's Eckhart Tolle, right? Yeah. But so the interesting thing about, and so a lot of times people were wondering, like for Patanjali, whose his sutras are like really, really dense. So for example, one of his sutras, or one of the lines of his sutras is great. It says that yoga is something that's yoga chitta vrutta nirodha, which means yoga is the practice of cessation of fluctuations of the mind.
It's a practice of cessation of fluctuations of the mind?
Yes, that's the point of yoga, is to stop the fluctuations of the mind. So it's like really like dense, kind of like meaningful sort of things. And so it's weird that he starts with the word now. because, and people were like, why on earth is he saying now? Like, isn't it obvious when you pick up a book that you're reading the book?
To make it more present. You think about the present moment, maybe?
So on the contrary, so like what people sort of hypothesized is that actually he says that yoga starts with desperation. That like now, so his first line is now the science of yoga. And Reckful, I think now you are ready for yoga. Because you have reached a point where like nothing else is giving you happiness. And that is when the path of yoga begins. It starts out of desperation. It starts with Buddha. Buddha, like what most of us think of as the end game, is like beating the game, is where Buddha started. And
What
Buddha's
do you mean by
journey.
The path of yoga. I guess
I'll
you're
explain
gonna
that.
tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like,
okay.
like Buddha's path for enlightenment began at the end of most people's games. Right? He achieved everything, or was given everything that most people strive for. And so like the search for spirituality starts like actually when your material desires are fulfilled and you wake up one day and you're unhappy. So then you're like, oh fuck, now what? Like I'm just fucked.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is ever going to get better. That's the conclusion you come to, because all of the things that you think are going to make it better are things that maybe on some level you already have. Right. So I think like the other thing here is like, I'm curious about your relationships, because that's not something that I know anything about, but I wonder about your sense of loneliness.
Needs some better relationships.
Yeah. But generally speaking, I think this is actually a great place to start, because you're sort of desperate, because nothing is going to fix your problem. And that's when you really go looking. So that was enough.
For a long time.
Yes. And Buddha was too. And then Buddha decided, I don't think you need to do this, but Buddha decided that he was like, I'm going to give this up and go look for an answer, because I've heard out there that there are ways, people who supposedly claim that they can lead to like peace and contentment, and I'm going to go look for that. And all this stuff is not bringing me happiness.
I didn't do it to the same extent. Sorry to interrupt. I didn't do it to the same extent, but I've just like stopped streaming, go travel, do things that people say makes them happy, things like that. Right?
Yeah. And so you've explored just like Buddha did. And now you need to start the path of yoga, which is like sadhana. Sadhana means like dedicated spiritual practice. So this is like learning how to, and you know, we can talk about how you can do that. But like, so the path that I follow is something called Raja Yoga. And Raja Yoga is the king's path, or the eightfold path. And it believes that the way to get to enlightenment is like a stepwise sequential thing. You level up, basically. It starts with personal observances and societal observances, goes to yoga postures, breathing techniques, sensory deprivation or sensory withdrawal techniques, which is techniques that allow you to withdraw the attention from your senses and redirect it inward. So generally speaking, our attention like is engaged in the senses all the time. So to redirect that inward, to focus, to meditate, and then to gain a state of temporary enlightenment.
When you said breathing, I realized the way I breathe, anytime I find myself and start manually breathing, I feel instantly happier.
Yes.
I think the way I breathe, my automatic breathing, can I train my automatic breathing to be in a better way? Or is it too late?
Yes.
Because it's always like short breaths, you know?
Yep.
But when I really think about it and breathe deep, I feel calmer.
Yeah. So that's exactly why the fourth step of this process is pranayam. Pranayam is breathing techniques. And the reason is because the way to control the mind is through the breath. So Patanjali figured out that each mood that we have, and I've done this before on stream, but we can do it again, because, by the way, our stream is blown up gigantically since our time together, so thank you for that. But we can do this again. So, like, let's just talk about breath for a second. Let's help you understand breathing and what effect it has on your mind and what the relationship between mind and breath is. So, first of all, Reckful, what do you think is the relationship between your mind and your breath?
Well, I guess the breaths are the food of the mind, right?
What does that mean?
It needs the oxygen.
Sure.
Well, it needs the air.
So I'm going to offer a couple of very difficult ground rules. No philosophy, no theory, no science. Just experience.
Okay,
so you have to...
Okay, that's better. I like that better. Okay, so let me think.
Great. What is the relationship between your breath and your mind?
Well, like I was saying, if I am my automatic breathing always feels a little hurried, and if I take a moment and breathe deeper, then I feel calm. So I guess my state of mind depends on how I'm breathing to some extent. I I wouldn't say that the outside influences don't matter at all, because some people will go to that extent, but for me that isn't true.
Sure.
But
So breath influences
definitely,
mind.
yes, it does influence it for sure.
Does mind influence breath?
Yes, I
Okay.
think so.
So are there certain patterns of... So let me ask you this. I'm just going to breathe, and I want you to tell me what I'm feeling.
Seem nervous, or I guess people call it anxious, or you're scared, maybe even.
Okay. Now this one. What is that?
Do it again. I think that's just tired. Just you worked out or something.
Okay.
That's not it?
It's not what I was going for, but that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. That's fine. So, let's do this one.
You're chilling.
Yeah.
That's what you are.
Right? So let's just think about this for a second. Okay, let me try to see if I can do another one. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of different ones.
You're a little worried about something.
Absolutely, right? Little worried about something. Then there's this.
You're starting to be afraid.
Yeah, right? So worry and fear. So let's just think about what you're doing right now. How are you able to determine what is going on in my mind? What are you observing?
The breath.
Well, maybe a little bit of facial expression too, but it's the breath, right?
I can do it with the eyes closed too, so I think it's the
Yeah,
breath.
actually, you were doing it better with eyes closed. Like there was a time, I don't know if you noticed, but where you closed your eyes and you listened, and that's when you could tell, right? So it's kind of weird. And then, so the first thing to understand is that like there are patterns of breath that are associated with certain moods. So now the question is it a two-way street? If I adopt a pattern of breath that is anxious or fearful, will I become anxious or fearful?
I think you will become a little more anxious and fearful, yes.
Absolutely, right? So now let's think about that. What does that mean for the moods that you experience, Reckful?
Well, it means I can start a pattern of breathing that will make me more calm, and maybe I could achieve the serenity I want.
Absolutely. That your mood is
I
literally...
do try this already.
Yeah, so this all started because you discovered this on your own.
Yeah.
You said, oh shit, sometimes like when I'm feeling bad, I notice that my breaths are shallow. And if I change the way that I breathe, I feel better instantly. And as a whole, humanity understands this. Because what do we tell people who are freaking out?
Take a deep breath.
Absolutely. Right? And like, why the fuck does that, like, why do we say that? Is that just like societal, or is there some physiology or
It's
truth
some
to it?
knowledge we learned over thousands of years. We keep passing down.
Absolutely. It's fucking, it's not rocket science, right? It's just like, hey man, like slow the fuck down, take a few deep breaths, tell me what's going on, right? That's what we tell people. And the mind-blowing thing is that this shit works. That it actually works. And so if you can control your breath, which is what the practice of pranayama is, then you can control your mind. So there are a couple of things that we're going to tunnel down a little bit further, okay? So what are the different qualities of breath? So like how do I like the different patterns of breathing that I was giving you? What are the different things how are those things different? How are those patterns of breath different? Like what are the qualities of them? Like what are the stats or attributes of different breathing patterns?
There's speed, there's
speed,
depth.
Excellent. Perfect. That's it. Got it. Beautiful.
Speed and depth. Okay.
So let's just think about this. If I am breathing rapidly and shallowly, what emotion do you think that is?
Worried.
Absolutely. Right? So if I'm breathing shallowly and slow, what emotion do you think that is?
Shallowly and slow. Shallowly and that's a rare one, isn't it? Wait, shallow and slow.
Pay attention to yourself, because I
I'm
think
trying.
you breathe that way a lot. I think you breathe that way in the morning and at night.
Oh man, really? Okay, wait. Well, I know my feeling, but that's not everyone else's feeling. My feeling is
So
like
who cares about everyone else's feeling?
okay, so my feeling that I'm having when I'm breathing this way is I need to be ready at any moment. I need to be ready at any moment to answer someone with something they'd like
Can we
to
just
say.
call it being at the airport without your bag?
Not sure.
Okay.
What's that, anxiety? Maybe it's anxiety, but what I'm feeling, okay, like a lot of times I'm hanging out with people and I put this pressure on myself to be the person who keeps the conversation going. So I'm having these kind of breaths that I'm kind of ready to fill the shallow empty space.
Okay. So I think there's something, I don't know if you want to turn to chat at some point. We can also recruit chat to help us out, or we can keep talking. What do you think we should do?
Chat's interesting. Let's see what they're saying.
So chat, what do you guys think that shallow and slow is? Which is weird because generally we think about shallow and like if we're breathing slowly, we associate that with long.
A lot of people said sad or anxiety. But I feel like I breathe like that all the time.
Yeah, so I think that's on the sadness spectrum, and that anxiety is more like rapid and shallow, right? When I think about someone who's anxious, oh man, and then just like kind of slow breaths that are more shallow, I think of as more of sad.
Someone was spamming insecurity, which is not false. Not false. Yeah. It's not false.
So there, I mean, I'm simplifying the breath, but there are all kinds of nuances to the breath, which we can dig into further and further and further. There's a whole branch of yoga called Svara Yoga, which is all about the different mechanisms of breath. And they even get so, not only like which nostril is more open than the other, because that correlates with mood. Like right now, everyone thinks that both of their nostrils are open all the time, but one of your nostrils is open at a time, usually. And like, which one of your nostrils is more open? Can you tell?
The right one.
Okay. So we'll check. And if you want to switch it, you let me know. I'll show you how to switch it. So there are more. So we're going to sort of start with simple things.
People want to know right now, how do you switch it?
Okay, so then,
like that.
I mean, it's going to interrupt the flow of the stream though, because it takes some time, but we can do it. So this is what
Okay, then let's keep going.
Yeah, I mean, we can do it if y'all want to. So this will be our formal meditation technique at the end of our talk today. Okay.
Someone in chat said left gang. Later. Okay, they're saying later.
Yeah, later.
Okay, we'll do it later.
So then let's go through a couple of other emotions. So what is rapid and deep breaths? What emotion is that?
What would you guys say that is? They're saying panic or anger.
Right. So I'll show you one more time, Reckful. What is that?
Yeah. I is this the one that I said you just worked out and I messed up, or no?
What do you think it is? Forget about what you said earlier.
You just got past something hard.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I would, but that's just me specifically.
Yeah. So I think this is important. So I'm talking like I have answers. But it's important to remember that everyone's perspective is going to be different. And so you guys should explore this for yourself. So in my mind, that's anger. So what I do when I create that pattern of breathing is I think about something that makes me
I don't
angry.
hang out with a lot of angry people, I don't think.
That's okay. Yeah. So the other thing is some people in my chat said sex. And I think sex is a spectrum. So if you breathe deeply and a little bit more slowly than anger, then I think it's arousal. Right?
That's how you get to sex. It's just a little. All I have to do is breathe a little deeper than anger. How come you guys are all virgins in the chat?
Lust. So this is lust, right? So.
Okay. Oh, I see.
well, the eyebrow is involuntary because it's like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's arousal. So arousal is also kind of an emotional state. So we can look at other things, right? And then there's calmness, which is sort of like, then there's chilled out, and then there's like calm, which are two different things. Like there's so many gradations of the state of our mind. So chill is kind of like, we're gonna smoke weed and we're gonna chill out and we're gonna like, just that's like that's like chilled out. And then there's like true like sort of peaceful kind of like meditative breathing, right? And if you do this, you're gonna have like a respiratory rate of like 4 per minute.
There's one time in my life, I remember I was in Amsterdam, and I had just done a very big mushroom dose, but it was after it ended. And I was sitting in a Chinese restaurant with a cup of tea, and it was the most peaceful I ever felt. I've never experienced this feeling again. I want to be there.
Yes. So that's what needs to change, right? So I think that like we can talk about dharma all you want to. We can talk about getting, we can talk about like treatment of depression and sadness, but I think at the end of the day, Reckful, what needs to change for you to truly be not lonely anymore, it needs to you need to cultivate that part of yourself. You need to give yourself that experience time and time and time again. And just like your breath, through which you can train it, like voluntarily first, and eventually it becomes involuntary, kind of like driving, right? Like when we learn a skill.
I really want it to be involuntary. I would love that. But
yes.
How much training do you think? I mean, I want to do it no matter what, but how much time will it take for my breath to involuntarily be deeper and slower?
So science says somewhere around 8 weeks. I'd say
That's
somewhere around a year. Yeah.
A year, okay.
Like, to talk about what I'm talking about is not even science. That's beyond science. But science, all of the clinical trials that look at meditation for treatment of depression and anxiety and things like that show a clinically significant, not all, but if you look at if you average all of the effect sizes and average all of the duration of trials, there are 12-week trials, there are 4-week trials, there are 6-week trials, there are 8-week trials. Basically, my conclusion is that if you average all that shit together, the average person needs 8 weeks of dedicated meditative practice to create a clinically significant improvement in depression or anxiety. So my answer to you is going to be 8 weeks. But I think that's for depression or anxiety. I think to get to what we're talking about, which is looking at your cup of tea, is going to take way longer. You may have moments, but you want to be able to have that sense of peace within you. And I think that's really what is missing. So I think you don't, there's something missing in you, something fundamental. And this, I don't think is necessarily go ahead.
I wasn't going to say anything.
What are you feeling?
You hit me. Yeah. That's it.
Okay, so just notice yourself. Notice your breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So as you change the breath, the mind changes.
Yeah.
You don't have to change the mind. You decide whether you want to feel what you're feeling and let the breath be natural, or you want to control the breathing.
I'm fine.
Okay. Good job. So let's just think about what just happened, right? So you felt something resonated, and then the emotions came up. Your mind started to think and experience certain things. You're not quite sure what. And using the breath, you restrained or calmed those feelings. And, I think last time, I guess the track we got on was to explore those feelings. This time, I want to teach you something else. So it's not necessarily about exploring those feelings right now, unless you want to. But I think...
No, I want to believe that there's whatever in me that's missing, that I can fill it.
So this is the other really important thing to understand. That thing that is missing within you is also a calling.
I think I have the calling though now. I feel like I have for career feeling. I feel like I have what I want.
Yes. So a calling is about more than a career. right? So this is something
Like,
within you that
no,
is
but that,
not allowing you to be content. This is something within you that is pushing you to explore and learn and grow. Because this is not it's not satisfied. So that's the same thing that Buddha had. Like he just like felt like something was missing. And and you say like nothing is ever going to change that because for 30 years nothing has ever been able to change it.
I just want to wake up and be around a lot of friends and have a lot of people laughing and about random things,
Yep.
and maybe sit on a couch and take turns playing some games casually, things like
Okay.
that. And
And
and then I want to. That's the thing I always feel like is missing that I want.
yes.
But the things with the career, I always felt like that was missing. But now that I'm working on my game, I feel like that part. I do what I want. I'm
Okay.
doing what I always wanted to do. Maybe I'm not there yet, and like my game will come out, and then when I'm actually seeing people play it and I'm patching it, and taking their feedback and things like that and making it better, then maybe it'll feel it's more in the state of where I want to be,
Okay.
you know.
So Reckful, I think we've got one of two choices. So one is that my hypothesis is that you should strive to create a life filled with people who enjoy your company and who you feel relaxed and like fulfilled by. And I suspect once you get that, one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, oh shit, this feeling isn't gone.
Yeah, that's scary. Because at least right now I have a goal. Right now I have
Exactly.
a goal that I want some friends around. If I have a bunch of friends around and then I still feel empty inside, I I don't know what I would
Yeah.
do.
So let's talk about friends for a second. So tell me a little bit about tell me a little bit about your situation. Like, it seems like you're really hungering for relationships and companionship.
Okay. Well, the first thing that came to mind is just being in school. Um, I I don't know why. For some reason, when I was in school, no one liked me. Now people like me on the internet, but I didn't have any friends. Um, very isolating. Going to school every day, having no friends. You see everyone else having friends for years. You don't have any. Um, um, but I feel like I could get over that. Um, what is it really?
How did you feel when you were in school?
I mean, I felt terrible.
What does that mean?
Like, I don't know. It's hard to put myself back. It's a related. I mean, people understand what it is. I don't have to actually like put myself in the emotion and experience it again.
Sure.
People know, like the feeling of not being included in things, or I don't really know how to describe it exactly. Yeah.
I think not being included is a great way to start because what I'm hearing from you is inclusion is what you're looking for, right? Like what with this picture that you painted of like people just being around. They're like,
Yeah.
"Yo, Reckful, you want to grab some food?" You're like, "Yeah, man." Like, "You want to play some Smash Brothers?" Like, "Yeah, man."
Yeah, like okay, so right before we did our talk, I went live on Instagram. I texted like 5 people and no one wanted to get food that day, and I went live on Instagram and asked if anyone wanted to get food with me. And then I met up with a viewer to get dinner. Like that's how much I'm seeking like someone to talk to, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about some scars last time.
A lot of the terminology,
Okay.
uh the harm, I remember that
Yeah.
one, but a lot of the terminology I don't remember.
So, I think I'm just thinking about timing. I'm just trying to think about how to say this stuff in a way that doesn't make it seem obvious or informational, but can be a little bit more impactful or transformative.
I'm wondering if I should tell you some more stories or something from. Do you like to listen to people's childhood and things like that? It's very opening.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
helpful.
I'm also just thinking a little bit about time because I don't want to lose track of the earlier stuff that we were talking about, and I'm just trying to decide a little bit about the cost benefit of like really hammering something down. Like, would you be better served by just hammering down the breath and implementing that change, or by like really opening up this topic in like a new way? Because I feel like if we talk,
I think I want to open it up in a new way. Yeah.
Okay, so then okay, so then tell me a little. I mean,
although the breath thing,
yeah,
the breath thing is more direct and it helped me right away.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to do something that I think a lot of people, including yourself, are going to find unsatisfying.
You cut out for a while.
Sorry, I was going to say I'm actually thinking about doing something that you and probably Twitch chat will find unsatisfying, because I think we're on the cusp of something important for you. But at the same time, I think it is important to recognize that change is not necessarily following. Change doesn't come about by following the thing that we feel like doing. Change comes about by doing the thing that we really need to do. And I think we're actually at that juncture right now where the last time we talked, there was something kind of emotionally transformative about our time together. And now we have another opportunity to basically do like episode 2 of last time. But what I'm really wondering is, are you going to be better served by doing episode 2 of last time, or by you actually like settling down and like nailing down, I guess is the word phrase I'm looking for, this issue of the breath and starting to implement that change? Like a year from now, which one is... Yeah, so I'm just trying to think a little bit about timing and like which one... I feel like we should do the breath thing first, even though I imagine that will feel unsatisfying to you.
It's not super unsatisfying. No, I could do it.
Okay, so I'm going to try to... Yeah, so I think this is what we have to do. And we can talk about emotions and childhood and loneliness. We got to dig into that, but I think that's going to be like a whole nother hour at a minimum. So I think this is what I want you to do. I'm going to try to give you a sense of the teacup that you had on shrooms, which is hard because you were on shrooms. But we're going to try to get you there a little bit, okay? So which of your nostrils is open now?
Right.
Okay.
The right one.
So, the right one. You're sure about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want everyone to check, right? So you can do it this way. And one of them is going to be more open. Reckful, now what I want you to do, so this is great because your bed is in the picture. I want you to lay, because your bed is in the picture.
Sure.
I want you to lay down on your bed. Oh, wait, not yet.
I can still hear you with the speakers.
Okay, but don't do it yet because I want you to. So this is what I want you to do. When you lay down in your bed, I want you to, with each breath, and you guys should do this at home too, with each breath, notice which of your nostrils is open. So just focus on the nostril that's open. And then when you feel the shift, I want you to sit and feel that shift as closely as you can. Try to feel that shift from right to left with as much attention as you can. Okay? And then we're going to talk about what that experience is like. And the practice ends when your other nostril switches and is like securely there for like 10 breaths.
So, okay. I lie down.
Yes.
Then?
With each breath, what you're focusing on, close your eyes. With each breath, focus on which of your nostrils is open. And then you're going to feel a transition and try to sit fully within that transition. And then the transition will complete.
I'm trying to get it from the right nostril to the left?
You're not trying to get it. It's going to happen on its own, and you're just going to watch it. And so this is what I want you to do. Imagine that the wave is coming in and out from the ocean. And sometimes you just stand and you just feel the water, right? You're not doing anything to the water. You're not bringing the water. The water is doing it on its own. You're just sitting in the water. So I want you to just sit in the transition and just feel it.
Saying it worked. What the hell? I don't know if it worked that fast. Okay, let's see. All right, going.
Lay down on your right and just put full attention to which of your nostrils is open.
On my right?
On your right. So right side down.
I don't know
if
you see it flipped. Or
put your arm, put your right arm under you. Right arm under, like this.
My right arm.
Yeah, under your body.
Here?
Yeah, so just lay down on your right side.
I don't put my arm under me when I lie down.
I know you don't. I know you don't. Okay. But do it this time. And try to be... Yeah, don't curl. No curling. Just lay down. Yeah, so just scoot down a little bit. So, this is fucking weird, I know. Fold the pillow in half and tuck it under your head. Yes, perfect. Close your eyes. And watch. You guys do it too. Lay down on whichever side the nostril is open. And then close your eyes and watch. Watch your breath. It's going to take a couple minutes, so be patient. Both of them rarely are going to be fully open. So check with your nose. You may notice a subtle difference between the two if you think they're both open. No, it's not enough to put the head on the side. It has nothing to do with the head. It has to do with the armpit. I'm trying to respect being quiet for Reckful, but we can answer all these questions.
You can do it.
Okay. So some people are saying that's insane. Okay, so both of your nostrils really shouldn't be equally open all the time. That's the perception that people have. But if you check with your finger, you'll notice that one of them is more clogged. So if it changes, I want you guys to sit in that transition and just notice that transition as it happens. The fuck? Someone just gifted a bunch of subs. What the hell? Thank you. How are we doing, Reckful? Right nostril still open? Okay. Just sit with it.
Armpits, like, this whole side is really uncomfortable, right?
Okay, so you can curl up.
It's supposed to be?
I mean, not like super uncomfortable, but you can put your hand under your head if you want. Your right hand under your head.
Under the pillow?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but then you're tipping forward, which isn't good, but that's okay.
I'll just go back. Oh, it's shifted.
Did you miss it?
I didn't notice the exact moment it happened.
Okay, come back.
I'll make 100%. Yeah, it's the other side.
Okay.
I'm left gang now.
Okay, you're left gang. All right, so let's just see like who
sure, right?
So, huh?
Yeah, I'm left gang.
Okay, so this is what you've got to do, Reckful. So if you want to get back to the teacup, you can't miss it because you missed it.
Yeah, I didn't notice when it happened.
So like for what I want y'all to do is like when you guys do this practice, you can just lay down on the side that your nostril is open and watch as it's going to shift. It's just hard to describe. You're going to feel it. And so pay attention. So right now what we need to do is get you to be able to pay attention to that.
Damn, life feels a little different as left gang than right gang, I was thinking just now. It really does feel a little different.
It is different. So the nerves in your left nostril connect to interneurons that innervate your parasympathetic nervous system.
What? Really? Wait, hold on.
And the nerves in your right nostril connect to interneurons that innervate your sympathetic chain ganglia, which is so this is essentially like sun and moon or yin and yang. So your sympathetic nervous system is more active when your right nostril is open, and your parasympathetic nervous system is more active when your left nostril is open.
So if I want to be better at what, do I want the left nostril open? And if I want to be better at what, do I want the right one open?
If you want to be physically active or like passionate mental activity, then right nostril is better. If you want to be calm, if you want to have sort of clarity of mind without passion, then left nostril is better. If you want to rest, left nostril is better. If you want to, left nostril is better. Although
if we were having this conversation and I want to go deep,
left nostril is better.
But didn't you say left nostril was for being really calm? And then if I want to, what did you say? Can you say again the right nostril?
Yeah. So right nostril is your sympathetic nervous system. So it's fight or flight.
If I want to be better at.
Yeah, like any sort of physical activity or have a passionate mind, then right nostril.
Don't I want to have a passionate mind right now?
It depends. Do you want to experience more emotion or do you want to understand yourself better?
Oh, I want to understand it.
Then left nostril.
Okay.
So this is what, and I encourage you guys to explore this, right? So in my experience, and according to the Yoga Shastras, left nostril is going to make you feel a little bit more chill, and right nostril is going to make you feel a little bit more active. And the other tip I'll give you guys, just one really simple thing, is after you eat a meal, you should lay down on your left side for about 5 to 10 minutes and just see how you feel afterward.
After a meal, we want to be laid down on the left side so we get the right nostril activated?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is some crazy shit. So there's some science behind it, but the science behind it is not very good.
Is not what?
So is not very good. So I think what the best thing that I recommend about this stuff, because this is not really something that has been, although I can
your
check
mic keeps
again.
cutting out.
Fuck. Sorry, I don't know. It's transmitting over here.
Talk louder.
So I'll try to find you guys references for what science supports with this stuff, but this specificity of breath in meditation has not really been like scientifically studied. Like this is generally speaking,
there been trials and they didn't.
Not to this degree of specificity, right? So remember that, like in
your inkling is that if there were trials with a couple hundred people, it would be true, but there haven't been.
Yeah, because no one is it's just way too specific and there isn't a foundation. So generally speaking, let's remember how like research works. We research something very generally, and then we start researching things like the next study is going to be a little bit more specific, is going to be a little bit more specific, is going to be a little bit more specific. So right now, there are just general studies being done on mindfulness or meditation in general. There are very few studies that look at different kinds of meditation or explore like physiologic effects of like different techniques. Very few. We're just sort of starting that. We're still trying to figure out whether this stuff has any merit or not, right? Can meditation help with arthritis? Can meditation help with depression? There are some preliminary studies that suggest different kinds of meditation have different effects on your brainwave patterns. So that's the resolution that we're at. Are two kinds of meditation even different? And is there any evidence of that? And the answer to that is yes. There are convincing studies of that. That I can link you. But we have no one has explored this degree of specificity and research because we're just not there yet. Right? It's sort of like we have to remember that, let's say penicillin was discovered, I think, sometime between the 20s and 50s. And so that was like our understanding of microorganisms and antibiotics is like 100 years old. And so over 100 years, we've had a lot of time to study, and now we know a lot about different kinds of microorganisms and antibiotics. We've been studying meditation for like 20 to 30 years. And so it's really
I have an anecdote.
yeah.
So for me,
Uh-huh.
if I had started doing magic mushrooms 5 years ago for depression, people would have called me a lot crazier than they would now that it's getting FDA approved for as a breakthrough therapy,
Yeah.
right? But it would have helped me just as much 5 years ago. We didn't know.
Yeah, so you have to remember that science, so like this is the difference because
Or 2 years ago even, not even 5.
I mean, there's been knowledge or exploration of meditation for like the better part of 5,000 years. And they learned a lot. And science is like, by comparison, science started studying this shit like 30 years ago. So there's what the yogis understood about meditation, which I do believe. I mean, not to say that everything that they say is right, but I think they're brilliant. Because a lot of the work that I do is based on their stuff, and I think like people get helped.
You should say your credentials a bit, because people in the chat might not know. They do tune in at random times, in and out.
Oh, sure. So, by the way, someone gifted like 100 subs, so thank you to that person. So my
pee.
Go pee. I'll do my Andy thing. So intro Andy. So my name is Alok Kanoja. I'm a psychiatrist. I studied meditation and yoga in Eastern medicine, Ayurveda specifically, mostly, a little bit of Chinese medicine, for about 7 years, originally with the goal of becoming a monk, and then ended up doing neuroscience research for a couple of years, and then went to medical school and trained to become a psychiatrist. And now I do integrative or holistic psychiatry, like incorporating complementary and alternative medicine, meditation, yoga, and things like that into treatment for depression, anxiety, PTSD, stuff like that. And then I trained and am faculty at Harvard Medical School. Yeah, I'm a Harvard Andy. So I did neuroscience research there, trained to become a psychiatrist there, and I'm on faculty there. So where did I learn meditation? So I learned meditation from like dozens of people. So I traveled to India every year for a period of about 7 years and spent about 4 months a year in India and studied with different teachers, different ashrams, different lineages, learned a lot of different kinds of meditation techniques from a lot of different people. And then now I sort of use different kinds of techniques to help different kinds of people. But a lot of this like fundamental stuff about how to understand the breath, like, and this is the thing, like, I don't think you can find, speaking of science, I don't know if there's actually a study that tells us what the pattern of breathing for different emotions is. I've never seen a study like that. Maybe that's out there, but like, that's the kind of simple formative stuff that sometimes science like misses, right? But we can sort of test that ourselves and it's kind of like common sense. So I think science is really fantastic and you should make evidence-based decisions when you're doing treatment. But I also think that, as I've learned time and again as a clinician, it doesn't matter what science says if it doesn't work for the patient. So even if, the overwhelming evidence suggests that a good treatment for depression is an SSRI or antidepressant like Prozac, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't fucking work for you. So what science says kind of doesn't matter. Right, so you like a lot of what I advocate for is individual exploration.
I heard you say Prozac.
Yeah.
When my brother killed himself, he had just started taking Prozac.
Yeah.
A month before.
How old was he?
21.
So I don't know if people are aware of this, but there's a black box warning placed by the FDA that soon after taking SSRIs, it actually increases the risk of suicidality, which is completely bizarre. Some people hypothesize that when you're super depressed, you don't feel like doing anything. So even though you're suicidal, your lack of motivation prevents you from killing yourself. And I mean, no one really knows this, but when I asked my professors, like, why is it that SSRIs actually increase the risk of suicidality? Like, what the fuck is up with that? One person told me, well, I think actually, as crazy as this sounds, what happens is it fixes motivation problems before it fixes suicidality. So there's a brief window of time where people still feel suicidal, but the Prozac is giving them like enough pep in their step to actually go and try to hurt themselves. So it's kind of like a really bizarre sort of instance. But this is like, there's literally a black box warning, which means when you get a medication, there's like a black box on it from the FDA that says that taking this medication increases suicidality.
That warning wasn't there though when he started taking it. I don't think it was there
so
yet.
the warning happened because a lot of people like your brother killed themselves. And the warning is really applies to adolescents and teenagers, but I think it also fits for young adults. It seems to not have that effect nearly as much in older people, or it seems to be absent. So we're not sure why that happens.
Yeah, so if they had known back then that mushrooms were good for depression and instead of Prozac, then he might have been alive. I shouldn't think that way,
Yeah. What do you... What is that thought? What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
Can't blame anybody. They're trying... I mean, I guess they're trying to discover what's good for depression, right?
That's not what you're doing. What are you doing, Reckful?
Regret?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also blame. Also
Maybe
wanting...
I'm blaming a little bit. Yeah, I'm blaming a little bit.
Also, at its core, you want things to be different. You want things to not be this way.
Yeah.
That's the crux of it. Is that you're not ready to accept the way things are.
Yeah.
And unless... What are you going to hold? So when you don't accept what happened to your brother and you don't accept your own depression, what does that mean for you? Like, what does that mean for your life? What does that lack of acceptance feel like? What does the lack of acceptance feel like?
Unfulfilled? I don't know. I don't know what answer.
Like there's something fucking missing.
Yeah, that's unfulfilled, right?
Yeah. And so when you wake up in the morning and you feel like something is unfulfilled, when you feel like something is missing, like that's where that shit comes from. And as long as you hold on to that, I'm not saying that it's easy to let go or that you're ready to let go yet, because I don't think you are. That sense, that fundamental sense.
I've thought that I've let go of it like 100 fucking times in my life, It just comes up sometimes.
Yeah, so that's because you haven't let go, because you don't want to let go. You're not ready to let go. You're not ready because like you still blame things for what happened. You blame science and you blame yourself and you blame your brother and you don't blame your brother. You've learned to forgive him, but there's still a part of you that is just not... It shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't have been this way. This shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened to him and it shouldn't have happened to you.
Yeah. I was just thinking something interesting. When I was a kid, when my brother died, my grandma, my dad, she was really old already. She was like 85, 86. No, 87. She was 87. And my dad didn't want to tell her that he died. So she would ask, "Where's Guy? How come he hasn't visited in a while?" We just say, "Oh, he's really busy he was getting his pilot wings for a while, but then he got his pilot wings a little before." And we never told her, and I was in on it to never tell her, and I was a kid. She died never knowing that he died. She was like in the hospital, and she had like fallen in the shower and broken a hip, and she was in the hospital, and she was wondering where he was, but it was better not to tell her that he was not around. We never told her. Yeah.
Why do you bring that up now?
It just came to my mind.
Yeah, why?
I'm not sure.
What is that story about?
Some closure feeling, I guess.
Yeah. By closure feeling, that story is about the impossibility of acceptance. That story is about like not knowing. That story is about a version of reality that you, in a bizarre way, long for.
In a bizarre way, I'm looking for a version of reality
that your grandmother had. Like a version of reality where he's still alive.
I think my parents are looking for it a little more.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever talked? I mean, I'm sure you guys have talked, but have you talked to your parents about your brother passing away?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Like, what do those conversations go like?
They don't go well. They don't go.
And
Yeah.
what does that mean?
I don't want to talk. They're probably listening right now.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so I mean, I think, speaking of community and loneliness, Reckful.
It's better if I talk to them directly, right?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I think the challenge here is that we're talking about you letting go, but like I don't think it's just you that needs to let go. Right? You told me about how your relationship with your other brother kind of changed, and like this is
changed. You cut out.
Fuck, man.
Big one.
Yeah. So I was just saying, I don't think this is just about you letting go. This is about like you, because it's going to be very hard to let go when other people are holding on in some way and you guys are like connected in that.
My dad told me about a year ago that he finally feels okay. Is what he said. But I remember when I was really young, I overheard him talking to his friend. I don't know, I was like 12. That he told his friend that he wanted to kill himself. It was weird to hear my dad say that. Yeah.
Reckful, do you have a therapist?
I've gone to therapy a few times, but I've never saw it as useful enough to keep going. This time I do. Well, okay, this is not therapy. But you know what I mean. But yeah, it wasn't.
So okay, so look, man. So this is what we got to do. So I think this is way more longitudinal. Like, so there's something. This is way more longitudinal, right? So I think we have to we got to figure something out. So either you need to talk to someone about this because you understand things that you didn't understand before, or like I can't do one-offs. Like we can do one-offs about meditation and random shit, but if you really want to get into this, if you want to get into loneliness, we got to do it like in like we got to do it sequentially. Like we got to do it.
I'm fine with that.
We got to like do it. Get started. Yeah. So let me just think about that. It doesn't have to be online. But if you want to do it online, that's fine. But then I think we have to do it consistently. And
how consistently?
I mean, I would say probably every week for like 4 to 8 weeks.
That's not that long.
I mean, it's not that long, but it's.
I'm willing to do that. If you are.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm willing to do it because I think you just have to think about whether you really want to do that.
Huh?
And you just got to think about like you got to just. My thing is transmitting though. I don't know. I think it's Discord.
Discord, right? Wait,
it's got to be Discord.
Sucks? Sorry, Discord.
I don't know. Like I don't think I'm. Yeah, it's Discord. My people are because I'm sitting here fucking pulling out my hair because I'm thinking that if I like move back, it stops transmitting.
Discord's fault. Yeah.
I think it's Discord.
But it might be
because that time I was watching it.
Input sensitivity. You tried changing it?
Oh, well, I mean, I think it should be the same as settings. Anyway. So okay. going back to what we're talking about. So I think let me just think about it. Let's figure out how to do this. You just sleep on it, and then you let me know like tomorrow or like whenever you want to let me know, and then we can start. We got to talk about it for like 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. So.
I do want it to start happening on.
I want in the morning. I want you to do a practice of 3 rounds of 30 forceful exhalations like this.
Whoa, okay. Are you tapping your foot?
No.
What does that sound?
I don't know. Just me exhaling. So
really?
Breathe out with your like contract your stomach.
Okay.
Right, so kind of like this. Yeah, pull your stomach in. Eyes closed.
Okay. Is it pulled
with
in?
Each exhalation, contract the stomach. Like a bellows. Good.
Feel a little short on breath. I feel like
that's fine. Stop. Good. Now close your eyes. Feel. Close your eyes and feel. Just feel.
It felt good. It felt.
Just don't talk. Feel.
Endorphins, I think.
Stop analyzing. Just feel. Sit.
Oh fuck. Okay. Is it
Again,
endorphins?
30.
Okay.
And then
Can you
don't
just
say
yes or
anything.
no?
I don't know if it's, I don't know what the fuck that is.
Okay. Wait,
no,
I'm not
through
doing
your
it the
mouth. And stop. Yeah, man, ride that shit. Just feel. Feel how amazing that breath feels.
It's similar to the feeling after working out. I don't know why I keep analyzing. I'm sorry. It feels really good. I'm feeling it.
Good. So
Okay.
stop analyzing. Do 3 rounds of that. So 30 breaths 3 times. Don't overdo it. And sit with the middle. Okay? And then
I've never done cocaine. I promise.
just forget about cocaine. Okay.
Never cocaine. Just forget about cocaine.
Okay.
Okay.
So you got to get out of your mind and just sit in that place. Okay?
You want me to do it again?
No. Not. I mean, you can do it if you
I'll do
want
it
to
one
on
time.
your own. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. You gotta go.
Yeah, I got to go. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I had a very good time. We'll do
Yeah.
it. You want to do it again in 2 weeks or in a week or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I'm going to be out for Christmas, but let's think about starting maybe the first week of
Oh,
January.
right, Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll message you. We'll figure it out. Let's do like maybe January 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Like sometime in like the second week of January.
Okay.
And then we'll
I gotta survive a long time on my own. I got this. I could do it.
Yeah, I mean you can I can talk to you in between that. I just won't be streaming.
Yeah, I got it. I'll
Okay.
make it.
You can just message me, dude. Just
Okay.
message me. Okay. All right. Strong work, Reckful.
All right.
Okay.
See ya. Thanks.